Hello learners, this is Habeeba with Excelwithme. If you like the video, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. Let's start today's class, that is Central Teacher Eligibility Test Paper 2 Social Science Class 6 Our Pass 1 from NCERT. The chapter is 8th chapter, Vital Villages, Thriving Towns. So let's start with the practice questions. When was the use of iron began in the subcontinent? That was around 3000 years ago. Where some of the largest collections of iron tools and weapons were found? In the megalithic burials. We have done the questions related to megalithic burials, very important in the previous class. Now statements: around 2500 years ago there is evidence for the growing use of iron tools. These included axes for clearing forests and the iron plowshare. The plowshare was useful for increasing agricultural production. All the three statements are true. Now in the Tamil region, this is very important question here. 3 questions also can come from this 3 points. So let's see one by one. Large landowners were known as Vellalar. Large landowners, Vellalar. Ordinary ploughmen, Uzavar. Landless laborers and slaves were Kadasiyar and Adimai. So these are the 3 important questions we have to remember. Large landowners, Vellalar. Ordinary ploughmen, Uzavar. And then landless laborers and slaves, Kadasiyar and Adimai. In the northern part of the country, this is also a very important question. The village headman was known as the Grama Bojka. The name of the village headman was Grama Bojka. He had many roles to play. Let's see all the roles here. These position has come from generations as hereditary, and then Grama Bojka was largest landowner, and then he had slaves and workers to work for him, and then he was powerful and he collected taxes and also sometimes judge and sometimes policeman. So these are all the roles he played, very important we have to remember related to Grama Bojka. Let's revise once again. Village headman was Grama Bojka, and he had a position from generations as hereditary, and he was largest land owner, and also he had slaves to work for his land and cultivate the lands also, and he was powerful and then collected taxes, judge, policeman. So these are the roles we have to remember of the Gram Bojka. Now other statements, let's see. Other independent farmers known as Grihapatis. This is also very important question, it can come. Other farmers, Grihapatis, most of whom were smaller landowners. Larger were Gram Bojkas and smaller were Grihapatis. And then there were men and women such as the Dasa Karmakara, who did not own land and had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others. So these are the 3 persons we have to remember: Grama Bojka, Grihapati, Dasa Karmakara. Gram Bojka, village headman with largest lands, and Grihapati, small landowners, and then the men and women who worked for these people, Dasa Karmakara. When some of the earliest works in Tamil known as Sangam literature was composed around 2300 years ago. Now the texts were called Sangam. Why? Because they were supposed to have been composed and compiled in assemblies known as Sangams of poets that were held in the city of Madurai. This is also a very important place, Madurai, we have to remember. What were the stories that were probably composed by ordinary people and then written down and preserved by Buddhist monks? They were the Jatakas. Very important point, the Jatakas. Where is a sculpture from a site with stupas showing the scene in a city found? That was in Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh. Many of the cities that developed from about 2500 years ago were capitals of the Mahajanapadas. In previous questions we have learnt about the Mahajanapadas. Now what is the Greek name for Bharuch? that was Bergiaza. Now, what were the earliest coins which were in use for about 500 years? That was punch-marked coins. Now let's understand about punch-marked coins. Punch-marked coins were generally rectangular or sometimes square or round in shape, either cut out of metal sheets or made out of flattened metal globules, a small spherical body. Now the coins were not inscribed but were stamped with symbols using dice or punches. You can see the picture over here on the top. This is the picture of the punch-marked coin. Now let's see the statements. In many cities, archaeologists have found rows of pots or ceramic rings arranged one on top of the other. These are known as ring wells. These seems to have been used as toilets in some cases and as drains and garbage dumps. These ring wells are usually found in individual houses. Now, what was an important settlement for more than 2500 years located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade from the northwest to the east and from the north to the south? That was Mathura. In which city fine sculpture was produced? Again, Mathura. Around 2000 years ago, Mathura became the second capital of the Kushanas. What was also a religious center? There were Buddhist monasteries, Jaina shrines, and it was an important center for the worship of Krishna. That was again Mathura, in very, very important place, Mathura. What are the archaeological evidence for crafts? These include extremely fine pottery known as the Northern Black Polished Ware, NBPW. What were the famous cloth manufacturing centers? They were Varanasi in the north and Madurai in the south. Now let's understand about NBPW, that is Northern Black Polished Ware. That NBPW is a hard wheel made metallic looking ware with a shiny black surface. The potter used to expose the earthenware to very high temperature in his kiln, which resulted in the blackening of its outer surface. A fine black slip was also applied on this, which gave the pottery a mirror-like shine. Now, who formed associations known as Shrenis? This is also a very important question. Craftspersons and merchants. Who provided training, produced raw material and distributed the finished product? That was Shrenis of craftspersons. Now, who organized the trade, also served as banks where rich men and women deposited money? They were Shrenis of merchants. This was invested and part of the interest was returned or used to support religious institutions such as monasteries. Now, where were the rules describing how spinning and weaving could be done in workshops under the supervision of a special official? That was seen in the Arthashastra, the book written by Kautilya or Chanakya. What was a coastal settlement where ships unloaded goods from distant lands between 2200 and 1900 years ago? That was Arikamedu. Very, very important place again. Where was a massive brick structure which may have been a warehouse was found at the site? That was again Arikamedu. Now let's see, so many questions can come from this Arikamedu site findings. So let's understand one by one. Other findings include pottery from the Mediterranean region such as amphoria, tall double-handled jars that contained liquids such as wine or oil, and stamped red glazed pottery known as Aritineware, which was named after a city in Italy. This was made by pressing wet clay into a stamped mold. Now there was yet another kind of pottery which was made locally, though Roman designs were used. Roman lamps, glassware and gems have also been found at the site of the Arikamedu. Now small tanks have been found that were probably dyeing vats used to dye cloth. There is plenty of evidence for the making of beads from semi-precious stones and glass. Now let's understand Tamil Brahmi inscriptions here. Several pieces of pottery have inscriptions in Brahmi which was used to write Tamil. Now end of the chapter with elsewhere. Now the topic related to Rome here given. This is one of the oldest cities in Europe and developed around the same time as the cities in the Ganga Valley. Rome was the capital of one of the largest empires, one that spread across Europe, North Africa and West Asia. Now Augustus, one of the most important emperors who ruled about 2000 years ago, said that he found Rome a city of brick and made it into a city of marble. This is also an important question. Who said this quotation? Then you can give the answer as Augustus. Now he and later rulers built temples and palaces. They also built huge amphitheaters, open arenas surrounded by tiers of seats where citizens could watch all kinds of shows, and public baths with separate timings for men and women where people met and relaxed. Huge aqueducts, channels to supply water, were built to bring water to the city for the baths, fountains and toilets. So we come to the end of this chapter again. Practice questions. If you like, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. I'll come with the next chapter again. Thanks for your attention and time. Happy learning.